Okay, start, sir.
I request sir to start his first technical session. Dr. F.M. Madhav sir.
Respected Principal, Professor S.M. Workert, the organizer of this e-webinar, the coordinator of this webinar, Professor Wasake, respected and honorable senior geographer from India who is also representing our country at the international level, Professor Emeritus Saptarishi sir, the resource person of today's other technical session, Professor Pant, and other respected dignitaries, my friends and participants. At the outset, I'm very happy to be part of this national webinar, which is organized on a very important and pertinent topic on geo-environmental impact of COVID-19 before and after challenges. This is a very burning issue, so I'm very happy to be part of this. I take this opportunity to thank the management, principal, and other organizers of Shree Shivaji Arts, Commerce, Science College, Rajura, for giving me this opportunity. So it has been already said time and again that COVID-19 has played both positive and negative roles. Today I'm going to discuss about some of the positive roles the COVID-19 has played with regards to environment. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'll be discussing the positive impacts of COVID-19 on environment. My discussion would be in and around lockdowns. So I'm not talking about much about what has happened after the lockdowns, but my focus is only on the lockdowns. Here and there, I might give some references, so there's absolutely no problem. So though the unlock 1, 2, 3 has already begun, but still we don't have that freedom, what freedom we had up till December 2019. So all of us are still locked down. This has played a very important role in rejuvenating our environment. So we will see in due course of time what kind of benefits we have got with regards to environment due to COVID impact. So we are in the midst of a disaster. So therefore, I feel that I should define what is a disaster. All of us know what is a disaster, but I think it will be pertinent to define what is a disaster. So we can define disaster as a serious disruption of the functioning of the society, causing widespread human, material, or environmental losses which exceed the ability of the affected society to cope using its own resources. So every society has its own resources, and with those resources, we are managing our day-to-day life. But what happens is, due to one or the other issues, our normal functioning of the society gets disrupted, and we are unable to come back to normalcy with available resources. Such kind of deviation from our normal life can be called as a disaster. United Nations define disaster as the occurrences of a sudden or a major misfortune which disrupts the basic fabric and normal functioning of the society. So society functions in a normal way. So whenever something happens suddenly, then the total society is disrupted, the fabric gets disturbed. So that state is called as disaster. For the sake of further clarity and understanding, and also which I would require at a later stage in my presentation. So therefore, I'm just going to discuss about the types of disasters. But before that, disasters have been occurring on the earth for a very long time. Even when we people were not there, when the human beings were not there, there were disasters. So disasters are very, very common on the earth. So we remember that huge animals like dinosaurs disappeared from this particular planet. At that time, we were not there, but disasters were definitely there. So, in a history of 4,600 million years, that's the age of our Earth, thousands and thousands and thousands of disasters have occurred. So, whenever disasters occur, disasters don't make distinction that it will affect only poor people or it will affect only illiterate or uneducated people. That is not the case. So whenever disasters occur, irrespective of our economic status, irrespective of our social status, and irrespective of anything, they affect. So right now, we know that the whole world is locked and everybody is affected, right from top to bottom. It is highly impossible to avoid any disaster. But what we can do is, with disaster management in place, we can always reduce impact. So disasters cannot be removed, but they can be managed and their impact can be brought down to a considerable level. So I was saying that for my sake, because I would require a little later, so therefore I just want to share elementary information about the types of disasters. We divide disasters. We have been teaching this particular types of disasters to the students as natural disasters and man-made disasters or technological disasters. Natural disasters are classified further into 6 types as geological disasters, meteorological disasters, hydrological disasters, climatological disasters, biological disasters, and extraterrestrial disasters. Now, extraterrestrial disasters are not directly related to Earth, they are indirectly related to Earth. Something happens outside the space of the Earth, so that affects us. That is the extraterrestrial disaster. Similarly, you have man-made disasters such as industrial accidents, transport accidents, wars, battle, ethnic and communal tensions, etc. So this is how we divide disasters into 2 types as natural disasters and man-made disasters. Uh, the world is engulfed by the biological disaster. So presently, the disaster that we are facing is a biological disaster called COVID-19. So this is the gift of China to all of us. This is because of a virus called SARS-CoV-2. So SARS means a severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. So that's how it is a short form called SARS-CoV-2. The first case of the COVID-19 was detected in China on 17th November 1919. But the world came to know about this virus only in the month of January, meaning from November, December, these 2 months, it was not disclosed to the world that there is something called COVID-19 or biological disaster happening in China. This was a very, very crucial time. So that is how during that crucial time, many of the countries were not prepared and that resulted into still bigger disaster. In our country, the first case was detected only on 30th January 2020. This was in Kerala. And from 30th January till today, so we have traveled a very long journey. Of course, when there is a disaster and when disaster is occurring continuously for last 5 months, non-stop, every day you have cases, 50,000, 55,000. So this is a very, very long journey. This is the present scenario, the present picture of the total world. What has happened with regards to the COVID-19. So today we have 2,16,000 2 crore 16 lakh 15,355 cases in the world, out of which 55 lakhs 29,789 cases are in America, about 33 lakh cases are in Brazil, 25, which is going to be very close to 26 lakh, is in India. Then you have Russia, which accounts to about 9 lakh. Then South Africa, 5 lakh, Peru, 5 lakh, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, and Spain. These are top 10 countries of the world which are infected with this dangerous virus. In an average in our country per day, now we are having cases which is close to about 55 to 56,000, which is a very, very disturbing trend. So what will happen in future, we don't know. As of now, we are number 3 in terms of the ranking with the number of infections. But in next 2 months, 3 months, where we will reach, we have absolutely no idea whatsoever. Like today's COVID-19 biological disaster, there was a similar disaster that was in 1918 and 20 called Spanish flu. Now remember, in this Spanish flu, 5 lakh people had died globally. But today in the world, 7,68,969 people have died. But in 1918 and 1920, these 2 years, there was a pandemic like situation similar to what we are facing, wherein about 500 lakh people had died. So if you compare with what is happening today, with what has happened in 1918 and 20, there's a very, very big contrast. Maybe at that particular time, we had no disaster management plan, and we also were not having the better medical facilities. But now, what we need to learn from Spanish flu is that there were 3 waves. There were 3 waves. So, first wave came in 1918, second wave came in 1919, and third wave came in 1920. First wave was not a killer wave. Second was a medium killer wave, but the maximum damage that was caused by Spanish flu was in 1920, exactly 100 years back. So that killed the maximum number of people. Now, the scientists are of the opinion that COVID-19 may also come in 3 waves. So right now, we are in wave 1, wave 2 when it's going to come, we don't know. Wave 3 when it's going to come, we don't know. Suppose by that time, if vaccine is not available, medicine is not available, I think our situation is also going to be similar to what happened in 1918 and 1920, similar to Spanish flu. God forbid us that such a situation should not arise. This is what is happening in our country. So as I said earlier, that the first case was detected on 30th January 2020. So we had 1 case. Then after 31 days, we had 1,000 cases. Then from 31 days, in another 8 days, we had 10,000 cases. In next 35 days, we had 1 lakh cases. In next 60 days, we had 10 lakh cases. And from 60, the number of days required to double, it is not exactly doubling, but 10 lakh becoming 20 lakh was 21 days. And if we go with the same rate, I believe considering earlier 21 days from 17 to 7, 17 July to 7th of August, wherein number increased by 10 lakh. So if same 21 days is taken into account, I think we will reach somewhere at 30 lakh in next 20 days. That's on 28th of August. Today, we have 25,89,682 cases. So that again shows that maybe we will be able to reach to 30 lakh prior to 28th of August. So this is the present scenario. Now, another very interesting thing, suppose if we analyze the statistics available of the 35, 36 states and union territories that we have in our country, 10 states account for 82.26% of the infections, which is a very disturbing trend. 10 states account for 82.26%. Now, out of these 10 states, 5 states, again, very, very strange. 5 states are from South India: Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, and Telangana. From North India, we have only 2 states, UP and Bihar, and Delhi, 3 states. And from West, we have 1 state, Gujarat. and from east we have Bengal. So the maximum number of cases are from South India, whereas the Himalayan states, with an exception of one or two states here and there, the number of infections found are very few in the Himalayan states. So this is, I think, a topic for further research, why there are more cases in South India and less cases in North India. I would like to take all of us into the history of the disasters. Now, this history is of last 100 years, roughly 120 years rather, starting from 1900 to 1999. Now, this particular graph will tell us the trend in the disasters. So if you observe from 1900 to 1950 or 1959, the number of disasters occurred are very less. Say, for example, from 1900 to 1909, there were roughly about 50 disasters. So again, in the next decade, we had 50, then we had 75, close to 125. Now here we had close to about 200 odd disasters. But if you keep a track of these trends and observe very carefully, and from 1960 onwards, you find that the number of disasters have increased like anything. In the last decade, from 2010 to 2019, we have close to 5,000 disasters. Now, 5,000 disasters in one decade. But earlier decades, we had hardly very few. So in the sense, from this particular graph, what we understand is that the number of disasters occurring during a decade is increasing at an alarming rate. Now this, I think we'll have to find another word. This is more than alarming rate, because something that was happening in 50s and 100s is now happening in thousands, which is very close to 5,000. Now, similarly, you can observe another trend. This is the reason why I did mention about types of disasters. In fact, for this particular webinar, the types of disaster telling me was not at all required, because that's an elementary information. But for my sake, I wanted. Now you can see here these bars. These bars are very tall. These bars are tall only after 1960. Only after 1960. Now, what are these bars? These bars are nothing but these are different disasters: biological disaster, climatological disaster, geological disaster, hydrological disasters, and the meteorological disasters. So this blue, light blue color, which is this color, indicates biological disasters. This dark blue color indicates meteorological. This is hydrological, and this is geological. So what we find is that of late, we have more of meteorological, hydrological disasters, and also in certain cases, climatological disasters. But in case of disasters from 1900 to 1959, we had hardly a few disasters which were meteorological, hydrological, and geological in nature. But they were there, meaning it does not mean that these disasters were not there. They were there, but the number of disasters were very few. But if you compare from 1916, not only number of disasters have increased, but there is a higher frequency of disasters with regards to meteorological, hydrological, geological disasters. So this is the present scenario. So meaning again that we have more concentration of these disasters. Now further, if you observe the deaths, the fatalities, this is again very strange. The disasters prior to 1960 were less. Disasters were less. But what we find is number of deaths were more. Deaths are more, casualties are more, but disasters were less. But with regards to disasters after 1960, disasters are more, but the deaths and the casualties are also very less. So this is a different kind of relationship. We have more disasters, less deaths, and earlier we had less disasters and more deaths. Similarly, when it comes to injuries, so there were few injuries. Deaths were more, but injuries were less. But today, deaths are less, but injuries are more. So this is how you find a very interesting relationship between injuries, deaths, and the disasters in last 120 years. Now let's come down to, with this particular background, a little bit of historical background. Let's come down to what are the positive impacts of lockdown on our environment. It has caused tremendous impact on ecology and environment in comparison with what we were earlier. This is not only in India, but it is pan world, pan globe, pan planet. So everywhere we have find the positive impacts. Since I'm talking about the lockdowns, its impacts, I think we should understand. We had 4 lockdowns: lockdown 1, 2, 3, 4. Then from 1st June, we have started with the unlock 1, 2, and 3. So right now we are in unlock 3. So my observations are based on this particular period, lockdown 1, 2, 3, and 4. In certain cases, my observations are only with limited to lockdown 1 and 2, and in certain cases 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's come to what has happened to the improvement in the quality of air. The principal of this college has already mentioned that there is improvement in the air quality. Now, this table will tell us what kind of improvement did we find in air quality. Now, these figures are in comparison with the lockdown. What was the condition in 19 and what was the condition 4 years back? So if you compare with the lockdown condition of air quality and compare with 2019, there is improvement of 60%, meaning there is decrease in the pollution. There is improvement in the air quality by 60% in Delhi in comparison with the lockdowns. If you are comparing the same thing with 4 years period, it is 55%, minus 55%. This is during lockdown 1 and lockdown 2. Similarly, London experienced a different kind of scenario, but Los Angeles, London and Rome, they had a different scenario. So there was not much of improvement in their quality of air, but other cities had wonderful experience with regards to air quality. So you imagine the government of Delhi, the central government have been spending so much of time, energy and money to bring back the air quality with odd and even and so many things. We are unable to cut down or bring improvement in the air quality. But lockdowns have done wonders. What we could not achieve in last so many years, we could achieve in hardly about 30-35 days. So this is the first advantage of the COVID-19 on the environment, that is improvement in the air quality to unbelievable level, unbelievable level. Now, as I said that now we are in unlock. What is the scenario now? What is the scenario? Scenario is more or less similar. Now life is coming back to normalcy. People who are locked down in our houses, now slowly and steadily they started coming back on the road. So the vehicles are moving, the industries have started, but still we can find, even after 5 months of lockdown, there is still a good quality of air, good quality to moderate quality. So Mumbai has good quality air, and other important cities of India, they have got moderate quality. Now, how long moderate will remain moderate, good will remain good, we don't know. Once economy comes back to its originality, I think again we will go back to the similar situation before the lockdowns, before COVID. This is scenario in Asia. Majority of the metros and big cities are having this green color circle. So that green color circle indicates good quality air, and the orange one indicates it is a moderate. We have hardly any place. One place is here in Pakistan, and one place here in Middle East, where the conditions are unhealthy. But in rest of the Asia, South Asia rather, the conditions are good to moderate. Now this is the picture of the total world. So world is also experiencing a similar condition what we have experienced in South Asia. We have more of green and orange patches rather than the red patches. So it means that presently world is a better place to live because the air quality has improved to a greater extent. This is the table of top 10 presently contaminated cities or polluted cities in the world. So on top we have Jakarta, then we have at 10th Taipei, Taiwan. In between, we don't find a single country from India. This is now the present situation. That is yesterday. This is about yesterday. If we had to go back to 2019, prior to COVID-19, out of the 10 top polluted cities in the world, New Delhi ranked number 1 and Mumbai was at number 5. Now, in the present list, neither Delhi is there nor Mumbai is there. It means that the impact of COVID-19 on India is more than rest other part of the world. Now, similarly, the second good advantage of COVID-19 is the reduction in carbon emission. United Nations organization is working so hard to bring down the carbon footprint, reduce carbon emissions. All countries are committed to bring down the carbon emission, but we have not succeeded. But the lockdowns have resulted in the reduction of daily release of greenhouse gases by 17%, which is equated with 2019 levels. So 17% 2019. 19 we have reached highest level of carbon emission. So from that highest level of carbon emission, if our carbon emission can come down by 17%, I think it is unbelievable. Hats off to the lockdown and hats off to the COVID for bringing such miracle in our lives. The reduction in noise pollution. We know we have problem with the sound, we have problem with noise. When mobile rings with loud ringtone, we get irritated because human beings cannot tolerate anything more than 110 decibel. So imagine when everybody is inside, everybody is locked, factories are closed, on the road there are no vehicles, there are no markets, there is nothing. How beautiful it could have been if we had to go into the open and observe. Wonderful, wonderful. So now this, our lockdown brought the sound levels, the noise level to unbelievable reduction, which made human beings to live a stress-free life. So because of sound, we experience a lot of stress, a lot of distress. So that stress level and the distress level in many of the communities, in many of the societies came down to a greater extent. So these are different levels that the noise is created. So we don't have to look at that particular thing. Just we should know that human beings cannot tolerate anything more than 110 decibel. So our environment was such that our sound levels came down. Not only there was reduction in the carbon emission, the air quality improvement, there was a reduction in sound, noise levels, but also there was improvement in water quality. River Ganga, a very holy river to all of us. Government of India has been spending crores and crores of rupees to purify River Ganga. The present government has renamed the Ministry of Water Resource as Water Resource, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, and made an allocation of 25,000 crores for the purification of River Ganga. But River Ganga was same in 19 and prior to 19. Only money was being spent. There were no visible results. But a lockdown of 25-30 days made River Ganga to turn into drinkable. The water became so pure and so purified that it was suitable for drinking purpose. So if at all Ganga can turn into pure, it's only because of lockdown. Otherwise, it was impossible. Not only Ganga, it is also with regards to Yamuna, it is also with regards to Kaveri and all the important rivers which were earlier polluted. During this particular time, they were purified and they were fit for the consumption with little bit of filtration here and there. So this is the magic of the lockdowns because of COVID-19. So this particular study appeared in a Journal of Engineering Science and Research Technology, which states that Ganga, Yamuna, and all the other rivers have improved unbelievably in terms of their quality. Now, since I come from Goa, I have my own observations. In an average, about 80 lakh people visit the state of Goa. Goa is known for both domestic and international tourism. So we have 80 lakh footfalls. During lockdown, not a single person visited. 33 beaches are there and all these beaches were deserted. All these beaches were deserted. Imagine on 33 beaches which are overcrowded, which are beyond carrying capacity, when 80 lakh people are putting their pressure on sand dunes, the berms, on the beaches, the coastal vegetation. Imagine the damage caused to the local ecology of the beaches. So this is what was happening for last so many years, not 1 year, 2 years, for last so many years, from the day on which tourism started in Goa on large scale. And we could not take any break from all this so that environment can rejuvenate. But lockdowns gave us an opportunity so that beaches are kept away from all kinds of unwanted misuse, and that resulted into improvement in all kinds of organisms living on the beaches, both plants as well as small microscopic organisms. Now this is the photograph of a crowded beach, Kalangut beach, crowded beach. You can see the number of people. We don't have place where you can keep your food. There are so many people there. This is another photograph. Only you will find people. You don't find sand there. So much of crowd. Now this is the impact of the lockdown. So you don't find anybody there. There is no pressure on beaches. The vegetation is smiling. The sand dunes are very happy because there is no one to disturb them. Similarly, this is another photograph of another beach. There is some infrastructure there, tourism infrastructure on the beach, but you have hardly anybody there. So ideal situation for the rejuvenation of beaches. Similarly, this is a recent photograph. You can find a few people here and there. Even today, our beaches are deserted, though tourism has started, but who will dare to come to Goa when infections are very common? So beaches are deserted and they are getting rejuvenated. Another wonder of lockdowns is spotting of wild animals. I have made trips to many wildlife sanctuaries in the past to spot animals. I have spent some time in the nights. I was not very fortunate enough to see the wild animals. I could see only the monkeys whenever I went to wildlife sanctuaries. But I had an opportunity, like anybody else, to see animals only in the cages. But I had not gone to see them in the cages. I had gone to see them in the wild. But I was not fortunate. Like me, many other people were not fortunate. But during lockdowns, all of us were fortunate because these animals, they started wandering. Normally, people who come to disturb us, they are not to be seen. So, thinking that something wrong has happened to the human beings, they started traveling towards our villages and cities to look out for the human beings. Because they were used to seeing the human beings disturbing them in the forest. So, they came to our towns and villages. We had pleasure of seeing them. The earlier photo is of Tirupati. This is in Kerala. So you will not find people except the security personnel here and there. So you have wild animals, a very, very rare cat seen on the highway. Then in Goa, we have heard of Black Panther, but nobody took a photograph of a Black Panther. It was only during lockdown that the panther was visible. Otherwise, he was never visible thanks to the lockdown. Then we have other animals, such huge animals being spotted on the roadside. This is a nilgai spotted at Noida. Then we have elephants seen in Yamuna Nagar. I mean, like this, all of us know. I mean, I don't have to say. We have seen these photographs in the newspapers. Every day we have seen this live on television, how the animals came to villages and towns and they enjoyed their stay. They enjoyed their stay here. And there was no conflict of humans and wild. They came, they roamed around, and they went back to their places without disturbing our lives. There are two places in India known for olive ridley turtles. One is Orissa and second one is Goa. Normally what happens is these olive ridley turtles, they come to Goa and Orissa in the month of January, December and January. They come and lay the eggs. Now, because of tourism, because that's the Christmas season, beaches are overcrowded. There's so much of light. Now, these olive ridley turtles were not coming to beaches in Goa to lay the eggs. Though government had done so many provisions for them, they had kept those beaches away from tourism. But because of the disturbance, sound pollution, because of light pollution, and because of so many other things, the number of olive ridley turtles coming to Goa had declined. But during this lockdown, because lockdown also coincided with laying of the legs by the turtles, so we had a wonderful season which we never witnessed in last 7 years. So these many turtles came, they laid eggs, the eggs were hatched, and when the eggs are hatched, they go back to sea immediately. This is a very wonderful scenario to see the olive ridley turtles hatching and going back to sea, going back to their own original habitat. So again, this was possible only because of lockdowns, and lockdown was possible only because of COVID-19. So I can say thanks to COVID-19 because they also have a right, like how we have a right to live. So these animals also have a right to live, and COVID-19 gave an opportunity for them to sustain their own life and get rejuvenated. This is from Goa at a place called Galjibagh. This is a protected site by the forest department. Turtles laying eggs. When they lay eggs, they lay thousands, not one, two. When they hatch in thousands again. So this was the scenario. Then another magic is the Himalayan magic. Whenever we have gone to Himalayas, when we wanted to see the ice on the Himalayas. It was very, at least this is my personal experience. I hardly had an opportunity to see ice on the Himalayas, but the COVID gave us an opportunity to see the beautiful Himalayas from a distance of 200 kilometers. This is how people saw from Saharanpur Himalayas. I mean, somebody imagining Himalayas can be seen from Saharanpur, UP. Unbelievable. But it was a fact. We could see Himalayas from Saharanpur. We could see Himalayas from Pathankot, Punjab. Beautiful Himalayas, wonderful, breathtaking Himalayas from Pathankot. We saw Himalayas from Jalandhar. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Then there was also decrease in solid waste. So on day-to-day basis, we have been producing so much of waste. When we were locked down, our requirements were minimum. We were not leading a luxury life because everything was closed. So our minimum requirement were met. As a result, the per head solid waste that was produced was also very less, and industries also produced very less waste, and this made our earth a better earth to live in. So to conclude, keeping aside the negative side where 7,68,000 people have died, so many people are suffering. So we have 2 crore infection. In our country, we have 25 lakh infection. About 6.5 lakh people are still in the hospitals. All these sufferings are there. If we remove all these sufferings and we look at the positive side, our environment has benefited quite a lot from the lockdowns. Now, what is the learning from this? The learning is when continuously we are locked for last 5 months, we may be locked for another 2 to 3 months. I don't know, 6 months, whatever number of months we will be locked down. We are managing our economy. We are managing our economy. How about, this is my thought, how about in future, every year, if you can lock down for 10 days in a year, lockdown. If we can lock down for so many months and manage our economy, if we plan systematically and lock down every year for 10 days, I think that will do a wonder to our environment. So thank you very much for listening to me. Once again, I take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this national webinar for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on the impact of positive impact of COVID-19 on environment, especially during lockdown. Thank you very much. So please unmute. Please unmute. Wasake sir, unmute.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful presentations of coronavirus, disasters, COVID-19, sir. आपने हर कंट्री, स्टेट और आंकड़ेवारी को प्रेजेंटेशन करने की कोशिश की सर, और बहुत ही अच्छा एनिमल को भी प्रेजेंट किया सर, धन्यवाद। और मैं आपका हमारे कॉलेज की तरफ से और डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से सर आपका अभिनंदन करता हूँ, धन्यवाद सर। अब मैं वन डे नेशनल ई कॉन्फ्रेंस के दूसरे सत्र को आरंभ करने से पहले अगर किसी को सर क्वेश्चन पूछना है तो पूछ सकते हैं।
क्वेश्चन
एनीबॉडी
आंसर के डायलॉग बॉक्स में आप क्वेश्चन भेज सकते हैं या आपके हैंड रेज करके आपके क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं। सर एक प्रश्न है, सर एक क्वेश्चन है।
हेलो,
या प्लीज।
कावले बोल के।
यस,
हेलो।
हाँ बोलिए सर, बोलिए।
हाँ बोलिए सर।
उनका नाम नहीं दिख रहा सर, कबले दिस सॉन्ग इज ऑलरेडी दिस टच ऐसा बोल के उनका है, उनका हैंड रेस हो गया है। दूसरा गैलेक्सी बोल के उनका नाम नहीं है।
हेलो कीजिए ना सर।
आवाज
Hello?
उनको
Yes.
हाँ,
Okay.
unmute किया। ओके सर।
Thanks a lot. At the outset, I am thankful to Professor of Zoology for the kind words he has introduced to me. Principal of this college and my young friend Vasake, Professor Vasake, and many others. I am really thankful to the college management, principal, and the staff of this college for organizing this webinar, especially on the current and relevant topic like what is the impact of COVID-19 and what was the situation before, during, and after COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, I also welcome to all the participants who have joined this seminar. You must have listened to both the lectures before me. Professor Nadaf has clearly mentioned, systematically given the account of what has happened after COVID-19 or during COVID-19. And that's why he has urged and concluded in his lecture that there should be at least 10 days lockdown period. So I would prefer to learn the lesson from the data presented by Nadav that because of lockdown, because industries were stopped, because many services were stopped, we can see that 50 to 60% of air pollution is reduced. So this means that what is the cause of pollution, what is the cause of the climate change or GHG emission, greenhouse gas emission, is the industrial sector. And if you go back to before COVID, you can find that this industrial sector contributes, especially manufacturing sector, contributes to GDP, gross domestic production in India. So it is just 17 to 18%. And the similar figure is found that the contribution of primary sector. Primary sector is well distributed, and that's why almost 50 to 55% of the people are dependent, population is dependent on primary sector, agriculture, fishery or forestry. So these figures we should take in mind, and we should apply our geographical or geo-environmental intelligence to that particular thing. So what should be the direction of our development? Whether we should promote primary sector or manufacturing sector, which is causing pollution. So this is important question, and this is the great challenge in front of academicians, especially geographers. Professor Pant has pointed out that what is the situation of the state like Uttarakhand, which is not thickly populated, which is having almost subtropical to the cold climate, and this has a beautiful scenes he has shown, and he has also said that because of Uttarakhand is not an industrial state, but because of lockdown, the Himalayan region was enjoying or is still enjoying the clean air, and that's why visibility is good, and that's why we can see that the sunshine or the shadows of mountains we can clearly see, and 3D effects in his photographs, beautiful photographs,
So that is clear. What is the lesson? That industrial areas are concentrated in metro cities, but their ill effects are migrated right up to Himalayan peaks, right up to the rivers, or right up to the glaciers, right up to the oceans. So that's why it is, you can see that the one school going girl from Sri Lanka, she has done some, she has started a movement of children's movement, that showing the placards in their hands, and they are standing along the coast, and they are saying that the boards are, they have written on the board that they save our life, save our future. And all governments, they appeal to all governments in the world that they should keep the oceans clean. And so we will see that before COVID-19, what has happened? The economies in the world, so they are now, especially you can find that after globalization, they are in favor of giants, the corporate giants. I will just tell you one example, that Cargill was previously a water giant, and now it has entered into the business of food, and it has started selling oil, and naturally they are so big brothers, and that's why they have purchased our various oil mills, and Gemini is our brand, and Gemini has been purchased by Cargill. You can see that the CARGIL is written on the Gemini oil, and they are so giant, they are so big, that the Prime Minister of India is not a powerful person. He has changed the law regarding adulteration. Means 30% of other edible oil, if it is mixed with groundnut oil, that brand can be considered as groundnut oil. So Cargill is selling the adulterated oil with 30% of palm oil, and that's why edible oil is imported in our country. So we import edible oil. This means that we are denying the opportunity of so-called vikas, so-called progress of the farmers. And this is the latest figures in 2019 to 20. We have imported in this year, the current year, almost 70% of edible oil is imported from. So this is because these big giants are not coming to develop India. So they are coming here to harness profit. So they want more profit. And this attitude is, Mahatma Gandhi has already told that the mass production will never resolve the issues of poor people. And this is Western culture, where the agriculture is limited because of their climatic conditions. But we are in tropical countries, so agriculture is a great job opportunity, providing great job opportunity to our country. But before COVID-19, we are trying to snatch the opportunities of farmers and supporting this is our economy, supporting big giants. So our political economy has a principle. It is just like that most of the MPs and the ministers have become the agents of big corporates. And that's why environmental disasters or environmental destruction, which is responsible for occurrence of so many disasters. So Nadaf has pointed out that the number of disasters is being increased in a geometric progression. This is because of this kind of economy that we are, so we have accepted all over the world. Even communist countries like China and Russia, they have also adopted this kind of crony capitalism. Crony capitalism is the academicians give that particular word to the capitalist society. But I would like to say that it is a predator's capitalism. Means killing the others, killing the other sectors. And why we should follow? So Mahatma Gandhi was saying that mass production is not the solution, but production by masses is most important step that we should adopt. Professor Pant has really pointed out that in his question answer session that the incoming migrations, so reverse migration, is not going to pressurize the villages. His idea is that it would be helpful to develop the rural economy. That is good point. So another thing is that I have also conducted a survey of the reverse migrating people, and those reverse migrating people from Maharashtra, I just collected the random sample, and I have found that the majority, more than 35% of the people who are carrying out reverse migration on foot, so they have in a class of 15 to 20 years of service in metros. So see that a family head of which is serving in a corporate sector or a manufacturing sector in metro cities for last 15 to 20 years is unable to sustain his family if there is a lockdown of 1 month or 3 months or 4 months. Now, is it the situation of professors like me or you? No. This means that we are paid handsomely. And this is again the pressure of the corporate sector that some 15 to 20% of people should be paid high, so that they can have a different market, another country, another America, which can be created within India, so that they can have high consumer, they can sell their consumer goods like washing machines or air conditioners or cars and so many cars. So this kind of economy of grabbing the resources of others and getting rich and richer and richer is the economy based on profit making. So you have correctly chosen that geo-environmental aspects we have to study. Geo-environmental aspects means not pure environmental aspects, but all social dimensions of environment, political dimensions of environment, economic dimensions of environment. And so this is responsible for always, we are taught, we have also written in many textbooks that zoom cultivation. So 40 years back we used to consider that the zoom cultivation is responsible for the barrenness of, or creating the forest, or destructing the forest, or creating barren lands. So, but now you can find that the mining sector is responsible for the destruction of the forest. So environmental degradation, environmental destruction is mainly based on the profit mongering, the profitability. The major motive for environmental destruction is profitability, how to increase profit and how to divert all the resources in handful persons, in the hands of handful persons. So this means that the resources, environmental resources, which are well distributed, we are trying to grab those resources. And this has created many social issues, many political issues. For example, the economic issue is disparity. So disparity is the major issue in all over the world. So we geographers have studied the Gunnar Myrdal's theory of backwash. So this means that the resources, both natural and human resources, are being washed off from the rural sector, from the various poor regions, and they are benefiting the metro cities. So this means that you just imagine the lifestyle of the workers in United States of America. Their ecological carbon footprint or water footprint is so high because they commute their manufacturing center with big cars. On the contrary, the Indian worker commute to the manufacturing sector on scooter or on bicycle or by public vehicle like trains, the locomotive trains in Mumbai or even in Delhi. So this is definitely, you can say that the carbon intensity, means carbon emission per unit production, is 100 times low than that in Australia, US, Japan or European countries. In the areas like, you can say that the Asia Pacific region or South Africa or South Asia. So all these things you can find that the Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, so they are consuming even food materials. Consumption of food material is 100 times more than that of per capita food grain consumption in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. So high consumerism is created, has become the part of our culture, and this culture is trying to destroy environment, and this culture is essential for the big industries. So we have to decentralize all types of services also, decentralize manufacturing activities. And Professor Pant has rightly pointed out that those reverse migrated people can do something, manufacturing activities within the village, and that will definitely help the villages to become more and more self-reliant. So-called Atmanirbhar, and you are trying to becoming Atmanirbhar on the basis of FDI, foreign direct investment. This is just wrong. Or you are just selling the public sector units to the private sector. How you can imagine that the privatization will help to leverage the upliftment of poor people? No, not at all. Reliance is not interested in this kind of social. So this social responsibility ought to be taken, ought to be shouldered by the government sector, and government should be committed in, this is democracy, democratic India. So government should, any democratically elected government should see that the poor people's constitutional right should be protected, means environment should be protected. Now you just imagine the situation of Uttarakhand. I had been to Uttarakhand so many times, and Himachal Pradesh also. So they are based, their economy, their survival, their livelihood is based on many resources coming from environment. Their livelihood resources like water, or you can say that the grasses for their animals. So all these are coming free of charge, and that's why they are surviving with low salary. So they are quite comfortable, and because their livelihood resources are intact. If their livelihood resources are polluted, then their survival is dangerous. Now just take the case of water. Water, very good quality water was available in Uttarakhand, even in rural Maharashtra, almost free of charge. But now the groundwater levels have gone down, and that's why water has become costlier. And because of introduction of this bottled water from 1995 to 2000, you can find that all over the world this bottled water has become so essential commodity that if I visit your college, you will offer me water in a bottle. So this is just nonsense. Those who are responsible for polluting the groundwater, polluting the water which is used for irrigation, they are selling the bottled water. So this means that the livelihood. So in Pune, I'm in Pune, Mumbai, people are getting water, good potable water, at the 4th floor with a rate of 1 paisa for 10 liters. Means 0.1 paisa per liter is the rate we are paying for water, good quality drinkable water. For same kind of water in rural sector, they have to put the RO plant, they have to spend 35 lakhs of rupees. Government is subsidizing it. But where that, so this cash flow analysis we should carry out, geographers should carry out, that where that money goes. Purchasing RO plant, big RO plant of 35 lakhs rupees means sending that money to the corporate sector which is manufacturing that RO plant, and which is costing just 5 to 6 lakhs rupees, and they are charging 35 lakh rupees. So this means that exorbitant profit making is there. So ultimate result is the people in rural sector have to pay 1 rupee per liter, means 1000 times more price for their basic livelihood resource like water. How you can expect that the rural poor can be uplifted, can become the comfortable, it can be uplifted to a comfortable living zone? How it is possible? While rich people are paying the price for good water, and they are paying 100 times, 200, 500 times more for drinking water. So this is a disparity. Disparity is not just on the basis of consumerism, but disparity is on the basis of cost of living. Their cost of living is increasing, and that's why they are becoming poor and poor, and that's why capital formation in rural sector is hindered completely. This is the situation before COVID-19. And COVID-19, now we can come to the situation during COVID-19. During COVID-19, so I would prefer to say that the COVID-19 is the mirror of our economy. It is the mirror of our political uh, leadership. It is the mirror of, because you consider the social activities, our social attitude of those who are at the top. So this mirror has clearly shown, as Nadaf has pointed out, that yes, because of our activities we are polluted, and some of the countries show less reduction in air pollution. This shows that they have already controlled the air pollution, while Delhi is so huge, pollution is so huge that 60-70% air pollution has been reduced. So is the case with West. But this clearly indicates that, all these facts indicate that this is the reflection of our activities in the past. So this is not the biological disaster. Okay, geographers ought to say that it is biological disaster as per textbook meaning, but beyond that, we can definitely say that this is nothing but our own the catastrophic, which is created uh, by us only, by the people who are at the top, by the persons who are leading us. So they are responsible for that. And during COVID-19, without understanding, so instead of understanding the emerge of coronavirus is nothing but the resultant effect of so many effects, resultant effect of reduction of microbial diversity. So that zoology person is there, he will definitely guide us whether I am wrong or whether I am correct or wrong. So because of this reduction of microbial diversity in the water, in the river water, what happens? The sum of the species which are some of the species which are considered to be resistant or dominant, they their exponential growth is observed. And just like mosquito, why mosquitoes are with a high population of mosquito is related to the destruction or decrease in microbial diversity in the gutter water or drainage water. So this means that we are trying to reduce biodiversity, and we are saying that, oh, coronavirus is coming from China, coming from this, who is responsible? So this is clearly the environmental disaster, biological disaster, and the cause of that disaster is our own activities, our own economy. Not only India, but also Trump is also equally responsible for that, or even the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, or all these people are responsible for that, because they haven't taken into account for last 10 years, they haven't taken into account the needs of the people. Now you see that suppose our public health system would have been stronger and stronger, quite enough strong, then what would have happened during COVID-19? So this you can just imagine that अपने आप वो म्यूट होता है क्या? अभी अभी
सर आपको आपको नहीं ऐसा नहीं होता, कुछ हो गया प्रॉब्लम
हो गया अभी आता है कितनी देर तक आप ओके कमिंग बैक टू आई विल रिपीट some points that they during COVID-19 we should try to understand it is democracy and all democratic rights, using all democratic rights we should fight against the decision making regarding which is in favor of corporate sector. And another thing is that we should develop the awareness among the common people that not to buy the things which are manufactured in the big companies. So instead of this purchasing the oil from some big corporate company, so we should purchase the local oil, local vegetables, local fruit, local cereals. That is the important lesson that we should learn to protect the environment, to protect not only just environment, to protect the economy also, rural decentralized economy. So our economy is such that there are the well established strong roots of exploitation, and that healthcare system is nothing but we are trying to follow the Western model which is favoring the big corporates to earn a lot of money in insurance, health insurance, and making the fuss of the public health system. So almost 50% of doctors and the manpower, the other manpower in public health system is not appointed properly. In all the states, in बिहार में तो 50% लोगों की अभी वेटिंग है, उसमें एम्प्लॉयमेंट ही नहीं हुई उनके. सो दिस इज हमारे महाराष्ट्र में भी 30% of doctors are not appointed in proper place. So this is the scene of public health system, and how you can expect that the public health system. I was corona affected, and I was put in the government hospital at Ahmednagar, and I found that was excellent work that our government has provided to us, and that is free of charge. I would suggest to Chief Minister of Maharashtra that this should be continued even after Corona-19 is over, even after pandemic is over. So this is again the lessons to learn during COVID-19. I will quickly say that what should be our approach after COVID-19. So one thing is clear, that during COVID-19, the pollution, air pollution is reduced, but one pollution is not reduced. That because of some emissions and because of the mismanagement of waste, solid waste, most of the metro cities have shown the pollution of ozone, which is toxic gas, at a lower level. Ozone at stratospheric level is good for us, for human race, but ozone at surface level is dangerous. It is toxic one, just like carbon monoxide, and that ozone level has been increased beyond the permeable, agreeable level. So this should be taken into account. And another thing is that the pollution is reduced, but up to certain level. What is the bottom line? So still there is 30 to 40% of pollution is still remained in metro cities. This is nothing but the domestic pollution. So pollution due to our own activities apart from industries. So we should take care of all such things. So after COVID-19, we should develop our habits. Clean habits should be inculcated right from the school going children, that don't spit outside or wear the clothes. It may not be it is not necessary that you should have a smart clothes, but just washed, every day washed clothes. So it becomes you can become a fresh one. And another thing is that the rural employment should be generated, and the employment generation is hindered because of lack of capital. So don't depend on the big corporates, foreign companies, which will migrate from China to India. Don't say ha ha, and don't try to. So many political leaders are saying that, oh, this is coming, one that WhatsApp University is publicizing it. So propaganda campaign, and media is useless. Don't view the television sets, the television programs, especially political programs. They try to fool us. So this means, do you know that the farmers are within this the lockdown period, how many farmers have done the suicide? So suicide incidences in western Maharashtra, in north, you can say that the within Maharashtra, there are more than 5,000 people have committed suicide. So in all over India is the figure must be so, but this is not covered in electronic media or even print media. So print media is not loyal to the people of India. It is loyal to the corporates. They are interested in painting the picture which is not relevant to us. Some celebrity is died, some celebrity is marrying with another one, some is cheating to others. So that is shown for hours together. And the farmers get the space less than 1% in the media. So, and the 55% of the population is dependent on that sector, and that they are giving less than 1%. So this is not a media, this is not a public media. They are more interested in use fair and lovely because you will look smarter and smarter, or use. So after Corona, the Nadaf sir has pointed out that the pollution is reduced, but after Corona, the plastic pollution will going to increase, the carbon footprint will going to increase. So before COVID-19, the carbon footprint per passenger for traveling from Pune to Delhi is round about 0.36 tons of carbon emission. Right? Now it will increase because the spacing of the seats. So the carrier, which is the capacity of 400 passengers, will carry just 150 passengers. So now you can just measure 0.36 into 400 divided by 150. So you can definitely understand that it will be definitely around about 0.6 tons of carbon emission. So this means that this carbon footprint is going to increase. So you have to travel. If I'm traveling in my car, so always I used to take my students with me, and it is packed with 7 persons. Now it is not allowed. So if I want to take the students with me for field work, so I will have to hire another car. So 2 cars will be required. So this means the public transportation system is not started yet, and that's why the car pollution is going to increase. The pollution, vehicular pollution is going to increase. The consumption of the gas or consumption of oil is going to increase. The coal is going to increase sharply. So after lockdown is ended. So this should be taken into account, and that's why our approach should be that we should not go back to before COVID-19. What we have done, the mistakes in before COVID-19, we should redress them. We should try to learn from them, and we should try to decentralize our economy. Yesterday was Independence Day, and I got the opportunity to deliver a lecture during the flag hosting. So I said that the public health system should be strengthened. The small scale activities at village level should be strengthened. Agriculture should be at the central stage of economy, because the service sector is earning 50%, but rest of the money comes from the industrial sector. Industrial sector is showing 30%, 35%, but actual within that industrial sector, manufacturing sector is just 17%, and agriculture is also just 17%. So we have to establish a human chain. Human chain means not the human beings, but the chain of humanity from the rural sector to us. So please mind well, you will say that you are a retired professor and that's why you are telling me. So we academicians should be prepared to reduce our salary, but try to commit for upliftment of the rural poor. So this approach we should adopt, and again I appeal to the academicians to carry out the research work regarding the activities and the cash flow, rural-urban cash flow, rural-urban resources, flow of cash, flow of profits. So this kind of analysis we should carry out, taking into account one block level study or district level studies. So micro level studies we should take into account and carry out such researches. Then you can be able to understand the local issues, local challenges, and you will be able to give the answer to those challenges. So such researches will definitely help you to develop your personality, number one, develop your academic career, and जरा हट के अगर हमने काम किया तो थोड़ा डेफिनेटली आपको, जैसे मैंने किया जरा हट के, तो आई बिकम द प्रोफेसर एंड head of environment science department in the university. So, but basically I am a geographer, and this multidisciplinary approach should be adopted while analyzing the issues of these issues cropped up due to this pandemic. And please remember that such pandemic will be repeated. Maybe corona, maybe some SARS, some other type of viruses will be coming up because we are destructing environment. And another thing is that the pollution has no regional boundaries. The air pollution in America can hurt you also. The solid waste in Korea can be brought here, and the people, the laborers in Gujarat are exposed to the cancerous diseases. Or some oil refineries are, that technology we can bring here, and the kidney failure becomes the pandemic, may become pandemic because of that fracking of oil and all these things. So that's why I think lastly I should say that we should follow the Gandhian principles, and we should definitely Schumacher's idea of small is beautiful, and according to Gandhian principles, I think the poor people all over the world should unite together against the government, against the corporate sectors, because most of the governments have become the agents of the predators' capitalist forces, and that's why we should revolt them and the academicians should not allow themselves their intellectual ability to paralyze because of media and WhatsApp University. So we are not having the fractured brains. We are academicians, we are scientists, we are the students of science. Geographers are students of science, and we should learn the reality, and we should try to reach to the ground truth and suggest the planning notions according strategic planning accordingly. So thank you very much. If questions are there, most welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me opportunity, and thank you for giving me some points. Thank you Nadaf and Pant for giving me some good points, learning points from your presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful, nice, and wonderful and nice.